Welcome back to Misma Passion, YouTube's premier channel about all things women's football. Now, women's football is littered with indomitable teams who have provided completely out of this world feats that have emblazoned them in the minds of fans and the history books, which make sure that their legacies are always remembered. Teams like the US national women's team, Lyon Feminin, and Dick Kerr's ladies are just the tip of the iceberg of women's teams who live long in the memory and hearts of fans and historians. But one team which arguably started it all was the British Ladies Football Club. Established in late 1894, the BLFC, as we refer them in the rest of this video, is arguably regarded as the first ever women's football club, which was started up by Miss Nettie Honeyball, who we did cover in the previous chapter of this channel. Much like any other great fairy tale story, the inception of the BLFC began with an advert in the news, where Nettie Honeyball encouraged young female footballers to sign up for the team, which would be coached by Mr. Bill Julian, who was at the time a player for Tottenham Hotspur. The team would take part in training sessions twice a week at the Nightingale Lane enclosure near the Alexandra Park racecourse in Hornsey, which was an annoying nod to women's football eventually being played in and around such venues, especially in the aftermath of the ban on women's football in England, which has also been covered in a previous video. All in all, Honeyball's call to arms would be heeded by 30 playing and 20 non-playing female footballers, who were swiftly taken under the tutelage of Julian, who swiftly began molding the team from a group of strangers and misfits, which was regularly prone to ridicule and jeers, to a well-oiled machine that attracted the attention of literal thousands to their games. The training sessions at Nightingale Lane were mired in difficulty, especially during the winter times, as the pitch was laid on heavy clay, which would result in frequently muddy kickabouts amongst the BLFC players. Rather than viewed as a deterrent, training in such shoddy conditions helped to galvanize the team and improve the camaraderie between the members, as claimed by Nettie Honeyball herself. The grit, determination, and passion all influenced Honeyball to go as far as to enlist the services of Lady Florence Dixie, wife of the affluent baronet, Sir Alexander Beaumont Churchill Dixie, or Sir ABCD for short. A feminist herself, Dixie agreed to become president of the BLFC on the condition that the players enter into the spirit of their game with heart and soul. This notion of giving it their all was likely to help the team develop thick skins against the local media, which, even back then, was notoriously bullish about their local athletes, and given the era, the mere fact of women participating in sports was too low of a hanging fruit for them to pass up. The BLFC's activities spiked the interest of outlets such as The Sketch, which published the cartoon you see on your screen right now, which served as their supposed view of how the players would look and act on the pitch. Obviously, this would not be the reality, and was rather, in fact, a symbol of the staunch male order patriarchy that had British society on a chokehold at the time. Though the BLFC are widely acknowledged almost solely based on their status as the first ever women's football team, their influence and impact on the game in general has not been given the due respect that it deserves. At the time of the team's inception, women were still subject to the modest dress code that society had deemed suitable for them, and thus their on-pitch attire consisted of what was noted to be a cumbersome combination of voluminous blouses together with knickerbockers, or a divided skirt and a fisherman's cap with a tassel to complete the look. Now you might be asking, what is so important about these details? After all, it is just kit attire for the women. Well, on closer inspection, barring any prior evidence of course, the look of the BLFC's attire, at the very least their blouses, can be seen as an inspiration to the beloved 80s style of baggy football jerseys that retro football shirt collectors in particular adore so much, which in my humble opinion is an important factor to consider when it comes to holistically appreciating the impact of the BLFC. A lot of effort went into validating the BLFC's cause, and after much practice and preparation, the inaugural match day arrived. On March the 23rd, 1895, at least 10,000 people descended upon Nightingale Lane to bear witness to an exhibition match of the British Ladies Football Club, represented by their North and South teams, which wore all red and light and dark blue outfits respectively. The team lineups were as follows. Representing the North were Mrs. Graham, Mrs. Nettie J. Honeyball, L. Lynn, P. Smith, E. Edwards, D. Allen, Ruth Copeland, Williams, R. Thier, B. Fenn, and Gilbert. And the South team was represented by Mrs. L. Clarence, Annie Hicks, Ellis, Aubrey, Clark, E. Roberts, Lewis, Alice Hicks, A.F. Lewis, E. Potter, and Ellis. The occasion was momentous to the extent that the women were greatly overwhelmed by the reception, to the point that the sketch noted that the ladies wandered aimlessly over the field at an ungraceful jog trot. Despite their shaken performance, other publications did commend the BLFC's efforts on the pitch, with the Barry Times even singling out one of the ladies, Daisy Tommy Allen, as a little sprite of 4 feet, due to her dazzling displays on the left wing. Once the final whistle was blown, the players were soundly applauded by the masses who had travelled to see them, and the inaugural match of the British Ladies Football Club was a resounding success and one for their history books. The success of the event merely brought to the forefront of communal dialogue, a debate on which sports and leisure activities needed to be rethought to accommodate the participation of women, given the success of the BLFC's exhibition match. The debate swept the nation, with no clear consensus being established, as practical arguments were made for integrating women more and more, whilst the patriarchal nature of society was used as a stick to beat any chances of progress back down into the ground. One antagonist to the implementation of women in different sports was the Jarrow Express, which summarized the anti-women sentiment in a published article that read, "There will always be curiosity to see women do unwomanly things, and it is not surprising that the match was attended by a crowd, very few of whom would like to have their own sisters or daughters exhibiting themselves on the football field." Regardless of the harsh sentiments and backlash, the BLFC continued their show and even went on the road across the country, and wherever they were, they brought thousands of onlookers to come see them perform. The popularity of the BLFC was such that, just a few days after their first match, legal action was threatened against them, due to them being unable to perform at Maysville in Greenwich, due to unforeseen circumstances that are lost to history. This fascinating story is just the tip of the iceberg in the roller coaster lifespan of the BLFC, which, if you are interested to read up on in your own spare time, I've left a link in the description where you can indulge in the detailed travails of the BLFC as expertly laid out by the splendid people at Donmouth, who have a deep and detailed history of women's football in the United Kingdom. Thank you very much as always for watching. Please like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.